Ronald Sims was no stranger to laughter. His YouTube channel, Sims Shenanigans, was a carnival of pranks, each more outrageous than the last. Millions subscribed, eager for their daily dose of Ronald's infectious laughter and the bewildered reactions of his victims. He was the king of lighthearted pranks, the jester of YouTube, adored by many, envied by some. But in the shadowy world of online entertainment, where views reign supreme, lines can blur and the consequences can be deadly. The comment sections under Ronald's videos were a testament to his success, but also a breeding ground for increasingly extreme requests. Scarier pranks, they demanded. Ronald, always eager to please, felt the pressure. He knew he had to up the ante to venture into the territory where laughter bordered on terror. He stumbled upon coulrophobia, the fear of clowns, and a wicked grin spread across his face. Clowns, those twisted parodies of joy, held a universal power to unnerve. Ronald would transform himself into a grotesque clown, a nightmare sprung to life, and terrorize unsuspecting drivers on a secluded road. Or so he thought. The line between humor and horror is often thin, a tightrope walk where one misstep can have devastating consequences. Ronald, blinded by his ambition and the insatiable demands of his audience, was about to take that fateful step. He had convinced himself that it was all in good fun, that the fear he was about to unleash was just another ingredient in his recipe for laughter. But some fears run deeper than others, and some shadows harbor horrors that even the brightest laughter cannot banish. Ronald meticulously researched clown costumes, browsing through countless images and videos, each more unsettling than the last. He wanted a look that would stop hearts, a terrifying caricature of clownish glee. The costume had to be perfect, a symphony of fear, every detail designed to elicit primal terror. But it was the mask that held the true horror. Made of a stiff, rubbery material, it depicted a grotesque clown face, its features twisted into a horrifying parody of a smile. Ronald practiced applying the makeup, transforming his own features into a blank canvas for the mask's grotesque grin. He was no longer Ronald Sims, the YouTube prankster. He was becoming something else entirely, a creature of nightmare, a harbinger of fear. Ronald chose his location carefully. It had to be isolated, a place where the darkness felt deeper, where the laughter of his prank would echo with unsettling intensity. He found it on the outskirts of town, a lonely stretch of asphalt that snaked its way through a dense thicket of trees. He arrived at dusk, the setting sun casting long shadows through the trees. He unloaded his equipment from the car, the clown costume, the camera, a tripod, and a powerful flashlight. He found a spot among the trees, well hidden from view, and set up the camera, meticulously adjusting the angle to capture the driver's reactions. He wanted to see their fear, taste it, savor it. The road was a ribbon of black, unwinding through the heart of the forest. The trees on either side pressed close, their branches intertwining overhead to form a dense canopy that blotted out the stars. The air was thick with the smell of damp earth and decaying leaves, a cloying, almost suffocating scent. A solitary streetlight, perched precariously on a tilting post, cast a sickly yellow glow that did little to penetrate the oppressive gloom. Ronald, hidden in the bushes, felt a shiver run down his spine. He pulled the clown mask over his face, the rubbery material cold against his skin. Nightfall brought a deeper chill to the air, a dampness that seeped into Ronald's bones despite the layers of clothing beneath his costume. He crouched in the bushes, his breath fogging in the cold air, his eyes fixed on the road ahead. He waited, every muscle tense with anticipation, his heart pounding a frantic rhythm against his ribs. Hours crawled by, each one stretching into an eternity. Finally, in the distance, two pinpricks of light pierced the darkness. The headlights of an approaching car. Ronald froze, his breath catching in his throat. This was it. The car's engine hummed, a low guttural sound that echoed through the stillness of the night. Ronald took a deep breath, steeling his nerves. He could feel the rubbery grin of the clown mask pressed against his face, a grotesque parody of joy. As the car drew level with his hiding place, Ronald exploded from the trees, letting out a manic laugh that ripped through the silence like a shard of broken glass. He waved his arms wildly, his oversized shoes slapping against the asphalt as he lurched towards the car, a grotesque caricature of clownish menace. The driver reacted instantly. The car swerved violently, its tires screeching in protest. As the driver slammed on the brakes, the car skidded to a halt a few feet from Ronald, its headlights illuminating him in a stark, surreal spotlight. He had them. Ronald stood frozen in the glare of the headlights, his manic grin feeling increasingly unnatural, a hollow mockery of amusement. The silence stretched on, punctuated only by the sound of his own ragged breathing and the distant chirping of crickets. He shuffled closer to the car, his clown shoes crunching on the asphalt, a grotesque counterpoint to the heavy silence. He peered through the windshield, trying to make out the driver's face, but the interior of the car was shrouded in darkness. He raised his hand as if to knock on the window, but something stopped him. The driver's side door creaked open, the sound seeming to echo through the stillness of the night like a death knell. A shadow detached itself from the darkness, slowly unfolding from the car. The figure was tall and imposing, their features obscured by the deep shadows cast by the hood of their jacket. They stood motionless, their silence more terrifying than any scream. Ronald could feel his heart pounding against his ribs, a frantic drumbeat against the silence of the night. The figure's right hand emerged from the shadows, and Ronald's breath hitched in his throat. In their hand, glinting dully in the artificial moonlight, was an axe. Ronald stumbled back, his manic grin dissolving into a mask of pure terror. He raised his hands defensively, his voice a strangled whisper that seemed to disappear into the oppressive silence. For a fleeting moment, a glimmer of hope flickered in Ronald's chest. The figure hadn't attacked yet. Maybe they were just messing with him, playing along with the prank. He tried to inject some humor into his voice, his tone pleading, "Come on, man. Don't scare me like that. You got me good. You win. Just put the axe away, okay?" The figure took a step closer, and the axe head glinted ominously in the moonlight. The glimmer of hope in Ronald's chest died, replaced by a chilling certainty. This was no joke. The silence returned, heavier and more oppressive than before. The only sounds were the chirping of crickets and the distant hoot of an owl, their calls echoing eerily in the aftermath of the carnage. The figure was gone, vanished into the shadows as if they had never been. The prank had gone horribly wrong, a deadly reminder that some lines are not meant to be crossed, and some shadows harbor horrors that even the bravest souls cannot outrun. The man who called himself the woodsman had no use for names. Names were for the innocent, for those who clung to the illusion of identity. He existed outside of such constructs, a phantom in the night. He was the embodiment of primal fear, a predator stalking the concrete jungle. He moved through the world like a phantom, unseen, unnoticed. His days were spent in solitude, deep in the woods, indulging his darkest fantasies. The outside world held little appeal for him. Its noise and artificiality disgusted him. He found solace in the wilderness, where survival was a testament to cunning and brutality. He had become a creature of the night, his senses sharpened. The darkness was his ally, cloaking him in anonymity. And tonight the hunt was on. Section 2. A History of Violence. His first kill was an accident, a messy act of violence that left him horrified and strangely exhilarated. He tried to rationalize it as self-defense, but deep down he knew the truth. He enjoyed it, the power, the control, the sight of life draining from his victim's eyes. The second kill was easier, planned and executed with chilling precision. The killings escalated, each one bolder than the last. The media dubbed him the Axe Murderer, fueling fear and paranoia. He reveled in the fear he instilled, a force of nature, a whirlwind of violence and terror. Section 3. Tools of the Trade. The woodsman took pride in his tools, each one chosen and maintained with meticulous care. He had a collection of them displayed on the wall of his cabin like trophies, each one a testament to his gruesome craft. He would spend hours in the solitude of his cabin, sharpening his blades, honing them to a razor's edge, his movements precise and methodical, almost meditative. It was time to make another addition to his collection. Section 4. Drawn to the laughter. The woodsman had been drawn to the laughter like a moth to a flame. It started as a faint sound, a discordant melody disrupting the peaceful night. He was driving aimlessly, consumed by thoughts of his latest project, when he heard it. At first, he tried to ignore it, dismissing it as drunken teenagers, but the laughter grew louder, taking on a manic edge. He found himself inexplicably compelled to seek its source. He turned onto a deserted side road, following the laughter. His headlights illuminated a figure in a clown costume. It waved wildly, giggling high-pitched echoes through the night. The woodsman felt a surge of primal rage. The woodsman pulled his truck to a stop a few feet from the figure, his headlights illuminating it in a stark, surreal spotlight. He watched as the clown continued its manic performance, its laughter grating on his nerves. He felt a surge of disgust mixed with a perverse sense of amusement. It was like watching a particularly inept animal trying to attract a mate. He stepped out of his truck, his boots crunching on the gravel shoulder. The clown stopped laughing and turned to face him, its mask a grotesque parody of a smile. The woodsman could see the figure's chest heaving as it caught its breath, its movements jerky and uncoordinated. "What the hell do you think you're doing?" the woodsman growled, his voice low and menacing. The clown didn't answer. It just stood there, its head cocked to one side, as if trying to decide whether to run or attack. The woodsman let out a humorless chuckle. This was almost too easy. He reached into his truck and retrieved the tomahawk, its weight familiar and comforting in his hand. He hefted it once, testing its balance, a predatory gleam in his eye. The clown finally seemed to realize the danger it was in. It took a step back, its hand reaching behind its back as if searching for a weapon. The woodsman smiled, his expression cold and cruel. The hunt was about to begin. The mask, moments ago a tool of mischief, now felt like a suffocating cage. Ronald's heart hammered against his ribs, a frantic trapped bird desperate for escape. He stumbled backward, his oversized clown shoes betraying his attempt at a hasty retreat. The axe glinted under the harsh glare of the headlights, a chilling extension of the figure's silent menace. "Dude, come on, it's a prank, see?" Ronald's voice cracked, a desperate plea for reason that evaporated into the night air. His words seemed to hang there, mocking him in the face of this silent, implacable figure. The figure took another step closer, their face still hidden in the depths of the hood, an abyss promising only oblivion. Ronald's hand instinctively flew to the mask, ripping it from his face as if it were the source of his predicament. "Look, it's me, Ronald. Ronald Sims. From YouTube? You know, pranks?" His voice was a desperate rasp, clinging to the hope of recognition of shared humanity. But the figure remained unmoved, their silence more terrifying than any roar. The axe began its descent, a slow, deliberate arc that seemed to cleave time itself. Ronald's breath hitched, his eyes squeezing shut in a futile attempt to deny the inevitable. The world shrunk to the whistling sound of the axe cutting through the air, a harbinger of the oblivion that awaited. The axe thudded into flesh and bone with a sickening crunch, the sound amplified in the stillness of the night. Ronald's scream, choked off mid-breath, was a tortured symphony of pain and terror, captured in its entirety by the camera's microphone. The world dissolved into a kaleidoscope of blinding pain, his senses overwhelmed by the metallic tang of blood and the primal fear that clawed at the edges of his consciousness. He crumpled to the ground, a broken puppet discarded by a cruel puppeteer. His limbs, moments ago energized by the thrill of the prank, now felt heavy, leaden, tethered to a body betraying him with its agony. The world spun, a dizzying carousel of pain and fading light. Through the haze of pain, he could hear the heavy thud of the axe striking the ground beside him, the sound unnervingly methodical, devoid of any passion, any hint of human emotion. It was the sound of a craftsman at work, indifferent to the suffering he inflicted. The figure stood over him, their face still hidden in the shadows of the hood, their silence more terrifying than any gloating victory cry. They were an avatar of death, a grim reaper who had answered his ill-conceived summons. The camera, its lens pointed at the starless sky, continued to record. It captured nothing of the gruesome scene unfolding just beyond its field of view, but the microphone, a silent witness to the unfolding horror, captured everything. The sounds became Ronald's digital ghost, forever echoing in the cold, sterile realm of cyberspace. His pained gasps, punctuated by the gurgling rasp of blood filling his lungs, painted a horrifying audio tableau of his final moments. The sickening thuds of the axe, each blow a testament to the killer's methodical brutality, were punctuated by the sickening squelch of bone and sinew parting under the relentless onslaught. The sounds were raw, unfiltered, stripped bare of the comedic timing and jump cuts that had defined Ronald's online persona. This wasn't a prank, this was a butcher shop, and the viewers, unwittingly, were the audience to a snuff film disguised as entertainment. The camera, its battery slowly draining, continued to record until the very end. The sounds gradually faded, replaced by the chirping of crickets and the distant hoot of an owl, their calls echoing in the aftermath of the carnage, oblivious to the horror they had soundtracked. The next morning, the video, automatically uploaded to Ronald's channel by a scheduled post, went viral. Millions of viewers, drawn in by the clickbait title and thumbnail, bore witness to the horrifying audio recording of Ronald's final moments. The internet, that vast and unforgiving digital landscape, exploded in a maelstrom of shock, disbelief, and morbid fascination. The video became a digital ghost, haunting the very platform that had catapulted Ronald to fame. It was a gruesome spectacle, a stark reminder of the dark side of the internet, a place where the lines between entertainment and reality could blur with terrifying ease. The authorities, alerted by horrified viewers, descended upon the secluded road, their investigation hampered by a lack of physical evidence and a chillingly clean crime scene. The woodsman, as always, had vanished without a trace, leaving behind only the echo of terror and the unsettling knowledge that some predators lurk in the shadows, drawn to the bright lights of fame and the promise of easy prey. The Ronald Sims tragedy sent shockwaves through the online world. It was a gruesome wake-up call, a stark reminder that the pursuit of viral fame could have deadly consequences. His channel, once a monument to lighthearted pranks, was transformed into a digital graveyard. The comment sections flooded with condolences, expressions of disbelief, and horrified debates about the video's authenticity. The incident sparked a larger conversation about the responsibility of content creators, the ethics of pushing boundaries for views, and the dark side of internet fame. Experts weighed in, citing the incident as a cautionary tale about the insatiable hunger for viral content and the desensitizing effects of constant exposure to online shock value. Some creators, shaken by the tragedy, publicly vowed to reconsider their content, to draw a clearer line between humor and harm. Others, however, capitalized on the tragedy, creating reaction videos and analysis content, their algorithms feeding on the morbid fascination surrounding Ronald's demise. In the end, Ronald Sims became a cautionary legend, his name forever etched in the annals of internet history as a tragic reminder of the price of online fame. The laughter had died, replaced by a chilling silence, a digital echo of the terror that had consumed him in his final moments. His legacy, a tangled mess of humor and horror, served as a stark warning to those who dared to chase the fickle whims of the internet. Be careful what you wish for the line between laughter and terror is thinner than you think, and the shadows lurking behind the screen may hold horrors beyond your wildest nightmares.